Hey there everyone, welcome to the Uke Stuff channel and welcome to perhaps the most ridiculous video that I have ever recorded. Today I'm here to compare three 8-string ukuleles. Now, realistically, you might ask, how many 8-string ukuleles do you need in your life? And the real honest truth is I don't even know if I truly need one. I don't play them very often, but the first one is on loan. This one is what I recently reviewed from the Klōs company. It is a carbon fiber ukulele with a neck that I believe is mahogany that's reinforced with carbon fiber, and it's a super durable, high-end ukulele. They sell for about $1,200. Now, with that, and having reviewed that instrument, I'll put that one down. Many years ago, when I started getting into ukulele, I started watching a channel called God Ukulele, which is the leading ukulele review channel. I review ukuleles, and I do so in the way that I do so that there's another voice out there reviewing ukuleles. Not that I disagree with Barry's voice, because I watch his videos with interest every time. So it's not because of that, but I have my own opinions on things, although they often align with what Barry says, and I do so in a different format, a longer format and a much shorter format. So, and I did that purposely, so it wasn't a complete copy of what he did. But early on in my playing days, he reviewed this instrument, which is the Baton Rouge 8-string. This has also been reviewed on this channel, just like the Klōs as well. And Baton Rouge is a company that is not really in the United States. It's distributed right now generally in Europe and the UK. Long story short is I watched Barry's review and I wanted this instrument so badly. At some point I was on some forum, I don't know if it was on Facebook or if it was somewhere else, and Mark Pugh, who runs Stones Music in the UK, which is the Baton Rouge distributor, so they distribute to stores and they also sell direct, contacted me and said, well, I could sell you one of those if you really want one. And it started a dialogue, and this is the end result of it. It also has his clear fluorocarbon strings. He has jumping cow strings that he sells on it. So, so that is how I ended up with this one. And then sometime later, I started liking what I saw Aklot doing, although there's some, some negatives about Aklot. Camise, which is the same company, Horse is the same company, and I ended up buying this one. This one has a solid mahogany top with laminate mahogany back and sides. And I would point you to the Ukulele Fun Projects, or Fun Ukulele Projects channel, to see some of Daniel's thoughts on this particular instrument. He's not as much of a fan of it as I am. I think I probably end up getting a good one, and sometimes there's bad ones too. So, but the price point here is cheapest, next cheapest, and then way more expensive. But yes, there are other instruments out there. Do I plan on collecting more 8-strings? No, no, I do not. In fact, my goal was originally just to stick with the Aklot with the solid top, because it was good enough for what I needed to do with it. Even though in some ways the Baton Rouge is the better instrument, it has the bigger sound, partially with the bigger body. If you can see that, it's quite a bit bigger body, and it's even a bigger body than the Klōs that you'll see. So what I thought I would do is just compare the sound between a solid top, this one also has Worth Brown strings on it, and a laminate, very good laminate, and then the carbon fiber. I do not have an all solid 8-string. I don't plan on buying one. I don't plan on buying a over $2,000 Kamaka at this point. This is August of 2023 as I'm recording this, or a just under $2,000 Kanalea, or a Pono, or something like that in that middle range between the $200 and $1,000 price point. The 8-string is going back to Klōs, and eventually probably I will end up selling one of these two as well, because I just don't need 8-string, and also tenor is not my instrument. I'm more likely to buy another taro patch if I can find one with a thinner, less round neck than Ohana. That's a whole nother story for another video. If you're interested, at some point we can talk about it. So what I thought I would do is just let you hear the differences in the sound between them. They're all tenors. There is one big difference though. These instruments are tuned the same, where you hit the high note and then the low note The Klōs is strung backwards. So it has a low note, then the high note, and it does change the sound. And I'll just demonstrate that first. So here is the Baton Rouge. I'll just play a C chord. So the note that you get most, really that C sticks out a lot, and it's really loud. Really, really loud on this particular instrument with that really deep body. Now I'll put that down, and I'll pull out the Klōs here. Check out the difference in sound, I think mainly because of the string order. Ready? Here's the same C chord. The high notes don't pop out at you as much. It's almost all low, and that low note is still ringing. So it does make a big difference. Well, I'll just start with the Klōs. So I'll start by playing Mark Pugh, who again owns Stone's music. He has a little song that he wrote called the Snowden Symphony, and that's what I use as one of my test songs. So I'll just do it here. Here we go. And just stop ringing with that low G, which is wound. The other ones are not wound as well. With that, by the way, could you string a low G instrument or a 8-string low G high instead? Sure, you could. I mean, it's up to you. But it's just, I don't think it standardly comes done that way from the factory. It's not supposed to. If you do it, it's your choice, right? All right, so here is that same song on the Baton Rouge. And there's a lot more brightness, sort of peel the paint off your houseness to it. And then the Aklot has Worth Browns, which Worth Browns are a fluorocarbon string, but they're a little more mellow than a clear fluorocarbon like the Jumping Cow. Some nice sound coming out of that one too. It's not as loud as the Baton Rouge, but it really does have some nice tone qualities. And the only thing I worry about with the Aklot, again, if you look at the Fun Ukulele Projects channel and Daniel's thoughts on the Aklot 8-string, he's got some concerns about some of the construction of it. But in general, I like that a lot too. The neck is thick, but it's not deep. So it's like wide, but not as deep. Now back to the Klōs. Here's a little picking, a little fur-elise for you. I'll also add that the Klōs has a statement that says that they're clear nylon D'Addarios. They look like D'Addario's Nile Tech, and then of course the G string is wound. So I do not think that they are clear nylons like they say on the website. Okay, on to the Baton Rouge with Fur Elise. Real bright and clear. All right, and now the Aklot. And it has some nice sustain to it as well when you're right next to it in particular and playing it. Yeah, it's the Aklot to me just isn't quite as brash. Now, again, why am I showing you this? Just in case you're interested. You know, the ukulele world is a fun world. There are so many choices, and yet there aren't. If you're looking at an 8-string, sure, I could have at least 5 other brands, 6 other brands represented here. But the question is, how do you get them if you don't just buy them yourself? Like, how do you get a hold of a Ukulele to compare it? How do you get a hold of an Ohana? How do you get a hold of an Oscar Schmidt? How do you get a hold of whatever to do that review? So sometimes you kind of review what you have on hand. And I'll be honest, there's probably not that many people with 3 different 8 strings to compare with from the start anyway. Although those of us that have ukuleles end up with strange collections over time. So ultimately, what do I like using an 8 string for? I like using 8 strings for strumming mostly. I don't like it for picking as much. It's fun, particularly like if I'm playing with like my students at school. It adds a lot more sound and depth, and it's sort of like playing with a small group because the strings are never fully in tune with each other. You get that little bit of a chorus effect no matter how good of a tuner you are or how good you are at tuning. There's still slight adjustments you can make, and even then it's going to go out of tune the more you play and so forth. But that's kind of a fun thing to do because you can get a lot of sound out of the instrument and you can sound like more than one person playing when you're playing with like a group of singers. It's also fun to bring along to a jam for a couple of reasons. There is something else when you show up and you're playing ukulele with 8 strings on it. People are like, what? I mean, it does kind of throw them for a loop if they haven't seen that sort of thing before. So that's kind of fun. There's like an, sort of a impressing others aspect of it. But also there's that sound aspect where maybe if everybody's playing standard high G, you're playing the 8 string and you have a low G, and it really adds that depth. Not to mention the clarity of the high note, the high C, that people typically don't have until they get to, playing that on their strings. So as you're playing chords, you've always got one note higher than others, which adds out to that whole tonal spectrum as well. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I know like Taimane, she plays with a 5 string with a low G and a high G all the time, which is kind of an interesting thing. I think it's a 5 string. I don't think it's a 6 string. She may also have one other string doubled to maybe an E or something like that. But nonetheless, I know that's one of the options you can get with that Taimane Enya Moon model that she has. And by the way, that instrument will be coming up on this channel at some point. Only the 4-string version. So watch for that if it's not already out on this channel. So if you don't have an 8 string, it might be fun to get one. That's why I kind of like where the Aklot is. But again, please watch that Fun Ukulele Projects channel so you are aware of Daniel's thoughts on it. I think that's a great thing to do. The Baton Rouge is a great instrument. The problem is we just really can't get them too easily here in the United States, and the price of shipping has just gone through the roof. So the idea of even when I got my Baton Rouge and having it shipped over, which was affordable at the time, not so much anymore. And if you have the money to spend and are looking for an 8 string that's rugged, you're not going to find another option, period, out there, other than the Klōs hybrid 8 string tenor that's out there. So with that, I think that's enough for this video. I hope you're having a great day. I will be back soon with some more uke stuff for you.